Hi, this is Roni, and this is the paper pad that I got from Sarah, Scrap from Scratch. Hi, Sarah. It's Teresa Collins, and I'm going to make a layout with it, process one. And I'm going to use some of the papers from it, and then some 12 by 12 papers because it is going to be a 12 by 12 layout. And it's very beautiful paper. And it's kind of vintage looking. A lot of her papers are. So I decided to do a vintage photo. Yeah, one of me as a baby. And I'm putting that, it's chic tags. And it has cameras with words. And the one I pick is going to be first photo. Because it is my first photo. And I like the wood veneer on that. But I didn't have no wood paper, so I won't be using wood background paper. There's me and my mom. She is not smiling. She don't smile very much in any of the pictures through the years. And there's me, and all you can see is my hair. Yeah, that's it. But it is my first photo. And it's kind of old looking. It has the black around there. It came that way. I know she stopped, it was at a photography studio, but that's how the picture was. And that's the Tim Holtz film strip. And that's the paper I ended up using for the background. I wanted like a wood look, but that's close. It's got like a black chevron kind of in it. You can't really tell it. And then it's distressed looking. But it's the closest thing I could get that would match that wood veneer look on that tag. And I was thinking about using that postcard on the right, on the bottom. But I didn't go ahead and use it. I ended up using some other stuff. And this is vellum. So I've got the white paper behind it so you can see it a little better. And the word child, I'm going to use it. Cut it out. And this is a 12 by 12 paper pad that my daughter got me for Christmas. And it's by Recollections. And she said she got me two, but she couldn't find the other one. Something that big, and she couldn't find it. But she said when she finds it, she's going to give it to me. She said it's more Halloween-y instead of autumn. And she figured I'd be able to use it. Yeah. I have an addiction to paper. Love paper. Anyway, that's a paste that I'm going to go ahead and use. And that's going to be my main piece. And then for my journaling, I'm going to use that piece right there. And it's thin, so I do put a piece of cardstock behind it and glue it down so that it's a little sturdier when I go to write with it. And that's all I end up using out of this paper pad. And apparently two came loose when I pulled the one out, and I'm trying to get it back in so it don't get wrinkled up. And that's where I decided to go ahead and get the black, because I've been thinking about the black, because around the edge of the picture frame I wanted to make sure I had some more black in the layout. And I cut the black half an inch off the black on two sides, and then on the pattern paper I cut an inch off of two sides. And you can't really tell that I flipped it, but I did. And I'm cutting the center out of it now, so I could save it and use it for something else. And this is the one I cut the inch off of two sides. And I don't even have this sped up, but this part right here, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. This part I do. The first part I didn't, but this part I do. And I was going to try to figure out how to do the voiceover and leave the first part plain, and because I did talk in it, but I couldn't figure it out, so save that for another day. But I go ahead and glue all these down because I know that's going to be my background, and I'm not going to do any layering on it. But that top paper that I wanted to use is so thin I had to have something else with it. And I end up using 2 pages of the doily paper and 1 page of the film strip. And I fussy cut almost the whole 2 pages out of the doily paper and several of the strips out of there. But I didn't put it all on camera because, yeah, I knew it'd take a long time. but I thought I'd fussy cut a few out, and I used my Cutter Bee scissors, and they're like my favorite scissors for fussy cutting. They can get in like little tiny places and cut out the details really good. And I always cut them out and then do the finer cutting so I can move my paper around more and just kind of hold the scissors still. But my first thought is to use them like a background paper, on top of the other. But when I go to put them on there, I didn't like it. And I noticed that, of course there's half ones because of the edge of the paper. And I noticed the half ones. So I decided to do something else. And that something else is a banner. Yeah, I know. I just recently did one with a banner and some circles. But I thought, this would look good as a banner too. I think I'll do that. So right there when I laid that one down there in the middle, that's when I thought of it. And so it all gets changed, but I need a base for my banner, so I'm going to cut a strip to put the banner on and use I wanted 12 inch. I knew that it was 11 inches, so I got 8.5 by 11 paper, and that way it goes straight across my 11 inches there. And this is where I'm trying to decide where all I want the patterns and the colors, because of course you don't want two colors right next to each other or two patterns right next to each other if you do have to have two colors right next to each other. So you want to kind of spread them out. And that's my bracelet from my hospital. Yeah, it's that old. My mom gave it to me like on my 50th birthday in my birthday card. And so I thought I'd put a glassine bag on the banner. I seen Sandra Oh Snap Gonzo do it once, and I thought, I'm going to have to remember that. And so when I was going to use the bracelet, I thought that would be great for this, especially now that I'm doing a banner. So, but I also have my birth announcements from the newspaper. And it's a really tiny, tiny piece, and I found it after my mom passed away in some of her stuff. And she has quite a few boxes of memorabilia. She saved everything. And so I know it's there. So I left that doily there on the right that's yellow polka dot. I left a spot there. I think it's going to be big enough for it at the end of the layout so that I can put it right there when I run across it again. And since I already have the layout made, it'll only take a few minutes to go get it glued down and put it back in the sleeve. And then that way it'll be in a good place, where everybody can see it. Because here I was, 59 years old, 58, 59 before I seen it. I didn't know she still had it. But it was in a box of stuff, so I was pretty tickled to find it. And first thing I thought of was a scrapbook page. And it is going to go on this one, since it is my first photo. And so here I am layering all this down. Yeah, it does take a few minutes when you build a banner, especially if you decide to add a glassine bag. But I am going to have to balance that out a little bit because, it's kind of heavy right there with that. So I am going to add something to the left side. But I knew when I put it on there I'd probably be trying to figure something else out to add over there, but I wasn't sure what. I thought of several things. Ribbon coming down in the banners, but what I finally decided on was just a small cluster to put there to balance it out a little bit. And I'm still adding pieces, and surprisingly enough, I had enough cut out. Yeah, that's because I cut almost the whole 2 pages out. I think I had like one piece left that I didn't, that I had a thought to use it on something else that I've already got made and add to it because I thought it'd go with it, and it was a partial one too. But I used all the rest on here. And I am not quite done yet. Still adding. It does take a few minutes. I thought I sped this one up more so that you wouldn't see so much. And I kept tucking my picture behind there because that's my first thought. I thought, well, I'm going to put the picture behind it. But then I decided that I want the picture on top. I didn't want it tucked. But this works out really well. Great for a 12 by 12 layout. Just enough doilies. And there's where I got the strips out. And I'm trying to decide what to put on top. It look, all those doilies is kind of the edges and everything. And it looked like it needed something to go on top of it. And I'm trying to decide there what. And I thought about inking that cream to make it go, but I didn't like it. And there's some trims that I tried, and I didn't much care for them. And so I finally settled on some brown and white twine. And I end up inking it because of the tag that I end up inking. I decided to go ahead and ink up the twine too. And I'm gluing it down with the Lean's tacky glue. It glues really quick, and it works great for twine. It don't take much to dry, and it holds it in place really well. I'm trying to decide the best way to put this on here because I want it on the edge, and finally decided to just go ahead and put the glue all the way down. I figure it's not going to dry too fast, that instead of just doing a little bit at a time. And so I just put it all the way across and then trim off the edges after I get everything up where I want it. And I'm also going to put bows on the ends with the twine. And I'm going to use the Crafter's Companion to make my bow. My daughter got this for me for my birthday one year. And I think I've made more bows and cards with it. And I wanted it for the cards, but it makes your bows even and don't take much work at all. And since I have it right there beside me and at the bottom of a desk, I just reach in and grab it. And now I'm going to trim these and then ink them with Ranger's old paper and tea dye ink to make them look old, because they're pretty white looking and bright for my layout. And while I was cutting them out, I got to thinking, if I had 1954, which is the year I was born, that would be great. But there wasn't one that I could use. But I looked over at the smaller ones, and there were. So I'm going to make me a strip that says 1954. And I have to, of course, distress it too, because I want everything to match and everything look old, because I'm old and my picture's old. So I wanted it to look more vintage. And I'm comparing the two, where one's really white and one's not, showing you how much more vintage it looked after I put the old paper on there. I love that old paper. It just really, it's very subtle, and it just makes everything look a little more aged. And I end up putting these on a strip of scrap paper so that they can be all together. And if you don't look really close, you can't tell that it's not a straight piece of film strip because of the black in between each one, and they meet up pretty good, so you can't tell too much that I pieced it together. And I left a strip at the bottom because I figured it's blank. See at the bottom there, because I figured I would be tucking it in something, and I wanted the 4 to show. So I just left a little bit at the bottom so I'd have something to tuck in. And I end up forgetting all about it. It's sitting over there at the side. So during the whole process video, you're not going to see it again after I set it over there. You won't see it again until the final pictures, because when I'm taking the pictures, I realized I hadn't put it in. I took 3 before I noticed it, and so I deleted those and added that. And I also had a little piece of film strip to one of my clusters too while I was doing it. And I'm trying to say which one of the layers I want on the top, which one on the bottom. And I decided that I wanted the red on the top. Red was like my mom's favorite color, and she liked bright colors. And I put the teal on the bottom, and I inked both of them, and I end up later inking the photo too on the edge a little bit, and I end up inking the teal a little more too. The more I look at it on the layout, the more I decide it needs just a little bit more ink. And this is where I decide after all that other ink, I need to ink that a little bit. And so, yeah, after it's all together, I ink it and just give it a little hint of ink. And I'm actually going to commit in a few minutes and start gluing things down. Yeah, after all this time, I finally decided to go ahead and glue down. But I wanted some black behind this, which is like one of the very first things I thought of when I started, and because of the photo, I wanted more black to accent, around the page, and I'll end up doing my journaling in black and a few other things, so the black will be an accent. And I'm actually going to glue those down after moving them all over the page quite a few times too. Yeah, I'm going to commit. It's finally coming together, and I did work on this 3 different days. So I had like 9 slices to go together. Oh, and here's where I decided I need a few more embellishments. Yeah, right, like, that what I showed you at the beginning was all I was going to use. These are the Tim Holtz pens. I don't end up using them. And this telegraph, I found it. It's K & Company, I believe, is what I got it in. And my dad found out about me through a telegraph. He was in the service, so my mom had to telegraph him. And some cork letters that are thickers, and the pier. And the one I'm going to use is the small one because it has some wood grain in it. And it's the only one that really had the wood grain that I wanted in it. So it's pretty small, but I'm going to find a way to use it. Those letters there are some old Teresa Collins that I've had for a long time. Oh, and that tag is, I got it in winnings from Pick Your Plum, and I saved it because I thought I can use that. That's a little tiny tag. And I probably had it a year and a half, but finally I'm going to use it. I'm just going to turn the Pick Your Plum over, and I'm going to distress it a little bit too. Oh, no, there's those Teresa Collins tags, and I don't end up using them. I thought about using them, but since they went really well with the paper. And then those Studio Calico Hearts, I've had them a good while now, and I haven't used them. And then some cork arrows, and I do use one of them. And that's some magic mesh, and I got it many years ago. I got like a whole package off of eBay and that says love with veneer. Anyway, the package of magic mesh, and I've used it over the years, but I use such small pieces to add a little bit of texture that it's lasted a long time. But I am going to get back to the process now because, I dragged some more stuff out, and I've got to put it on my page. And there I am again trying to figure out my layers now that I have a few more things to work with on those layers. They were kind of bare, and that's where I tried the My, and I don't like it because I was going to have my title My First Photo. So I decided go ahead and go with the cork, and that's why I said I need more ink on there. Can't make up my mind, can I? Probably end up with too much ink. No, I think it turns out all right. I think I get the ink about right. And this tag, the first thing we use is close to my art texture. I think it's called a brush, but it's not really a brush. And it just gives little blotches of ink, and those are Memory Maker's magnetic stamps. And I use Cherish Life as my 2 words from stamping there. And then I also get one that's like a little leaf flourish, and I use it on there. And when I ink this, I notice that it has ink on the edges, but then I think of a lot of the old stuff that I've ran across in my mom's boxes. Like if they do stamp it with a date or whatever, it shows the edges where they've stamped it, and they didn't wipe it off. Many times I've wiped it off with a wipey, but I decided not to do it on this. And now I'm stamping the little leaf flourish around there, and I'm going to ink the edges with the tea dye ink. And when I get it done and I go to put some twine in it, that's when I decide I need to ink all the twine too. Yeah, so even though it's on my page, it's going to get inked. And I'm inking the pier and even my wood veneer. I said everything needs a little bit of ink. And if you can tell, the magic mesh isn't a solid piece because I've already cut some off and used it for something else. But that photo part's going to be right in front of the part that's missing. And I laid it down there first and thought about it. And then I remembered the telegraph. And like I said back then, telegraphs were pretty popular. And so that's how my dad found out I was born and that I was a girl. They didn't have ultrasounds back then. So you didn't know till the baby was born what it was going to be. The picture of my mom and me was took at a little photography studio that was on 5th Street here in town, and it was still there when my kids were born too. The man finally retired, but her aunt wanted a picture of me and her and insisted on stopping. She's the one picked her up from the hospital. She's the one took her to the hospital, and she picked her up and she wanted a picture of me and her. So my mom was like one of her favorites, yeah. And she didn't have any, she had 2 children, but she was born in 1900 and she was still a teenager when they were born. And they were both born prematurely, very, very tiny. And one passed away immediately and the other one lived a few months, but had problems all the time. So when my mom was born and her mother passed away when she was 7, she became like a daughter to her. And so she was her favorite. Anyway, she had to get her picture taken, and Mom did not feel like stopping and getting a picture. But she did it anyway, so I would have my first photo with my mom. And I'm doing the layers, and that's it says birth certificate on there, and I'm just trying to get everything layered so the certificate part shows. And my journaling isn't going to be all the way on the journaling paper. I'm just going to kind of work around on the lines you can see and put my journaling in there. And mostly it's just about my photo. And I put that arrow down, and then I decide to move it, and then I can't because it messed the picture up. So I'm going to have to put it right back where I had it start with. And yeah, you see my thickers, they're not sticking. So yeah, I'll have to put some glue. As usual, thickers don't stick very well. But I love them still. They have their faults, but they still make great presentation on your layout. Yeah, see, that's where I mess up. Never move stuff. Oh, but I do, over and over again. And just have to work around it. Try and get all the little extra glue off because I put a tiny bit too much when I put it back. And I think now I'm going to work on that cluster. Nope, I'm not. That's where I remember the tag, and I got to work with the tag first. I had to ink it and everything, so the cluster comes next. I inked the twines, and I don't think it was on film. I think I was too far back, sorry. And there is the love and to the left immediately of that is where I'm going to put my little birth announcement. But I thought that'd be a great place to put it. I just not sure which box it's in. Like I said, it's very tiny, but I do have it. And it is going to go on here. And I go to glue these down, and what's funny, I get them where I want them, and then I decide to do this, and then I added film strip to it, and I used the Tiny Holtz little attacher to do that. And see, I messed them all up, so it didn't do any good to get them exactly where I wanted them, because I'd have to do it all over again, and I don't think they're in the same place, but close enough. And I use the lean tacky glue for them too. It works great with a lot of stuff. I've got the glossy accents, and if it's something I think the glue's going to show, or certain things I think will stick better with the glossy accents, and I know I'm going to let it sit a while because the glossy accents takes longer to dry, I will go ahead and use the glossy accents. My journaling says, this is my very first photo, and really all you can see is that I have a lot of hair, and that I was very young. It was right after me and Mom got out of the hospital. So it didn't say nothing super important, but it told about the photo and that it was my first one. And now that I'm looking at my layout, I'm thinking maybe about doing a little arrow that says my first bracelet and pointing to that little bag and right next to it. Maybe even doing it on the computer to get it small enough. But I think I might do something like that and point to the little bag and say my first bracelet. Anyway, this is my layout, and I want to thank you all so much for watching my video and all the comments that you leave. There's the film strips, and I really liked them because they were the perfect size just to add to this page, Sarah. And there's the twine with part of the banner, so you can see the layers on the banner. And that's the little cluster that I made, Cherish, Life, and Love. And right to the left of it's where I'm going to put my little birth announcement thing from the newspaper. Like I said, it's only like 2 lines long, maybe 3. And there's my little bag, and see it says Sparks, S-P-A-R-K-S. You can barely tell, but it's in there, and it won't be lost. It'll be there forever. And there's the magic mesh. You can see it with the telegram. And I thought, man, I should have wrote on there like a message to Dad, or typed it on a typewriter. Well, I don't have a typewriter, so I was just dreaming. Yeah, but wouldn't it be neat to put that on there and have, whatever they would have said to him that I was born in my name? He picked out my name, so he knew if it was a girl what it was going to be. But he loved the Archie and Veronica comic books, so that's how I got my name. And his sisters and brothers was one started calling me Roni. So that's where my name came from. My mom never called me that, though. But this is my layout. And again, I want to thank you so much for watching and commenting. And thanks. Bye.